Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Monday, June 22nd, 2020. There are no significant fire potential impacts for today and Tuesday across the geographic area. We're just looking for warming and drying across the region. By Wednesday, we'll see some moisture move into the geographic area, especially the north, including Idaho and into portions of northern Nevada and possibly northern Utah. By Wednesday, for a mix of wet and dry thunderstorms there over northeast Nevada and south central Idaho, with wetter thunderstorms further north. Initial attack has been picking up the last couple of days, mainly over western Utah and southern Nevada and far western Nevada, where we've seen generally smaller fires popping up, but we have seen an increase in the number of those fires. Precipitation for the past 14 days is shown here with the observed amounts on the left and the percent of normal on the right. Still showing that dry signal across southern Nevada and southern Utah, where we've seen very little to no precipitation over the past couple of weeks. This is reflected in our ERCs, where those values are highest across far southern and southeast Utah and southern Nevada. We have a couple of stations moving into that 90th percentile range across the south. However, over Idaho, those values are still below the 50th percentile, and somewhere in between over Nevada and northern and central Utah. A closer look at these values show near normal ERCs pretty much across much of Utah and Nevada, at least the northern and central portions, right at average for the time of year, possibly slightly higher than average over the southern tip of the Great Basin and below average across the north. Live field moistures for a couple of sites in north central Nevada and northwest Utah for sagebrush are shown here. We can see that earlier in the spring and early summer those values were very close to the historical lows, but as we have seen some moisture move into northern Nevada and northern Utah over the last couple of weeks, accompanied with some periods of cooler temperatures, we can see that the drying rate of that sagebrush has slowed down just a bit, and those values are now a little bit closer to normal than they were earlier this year. This morning's satellite imagery is showing a high pressure system off the California coast that's going to continue to build over the next couple of days, bringing some very warm temperatures to portions of the Great Basin, California, western Great Basin, and even up into western Idaho over the next couple of days. Winds will generally be light associated with this high pressure ridge for the next few days. Again, we can see dry conditions over the Great Basin for today under that high pressure ridge, with the field dryness being brown across the southern portions of the Great Basin, but over the next couple of days we'll see that dryness increasing over northern Nevada. Generally light winds are expected today, with just some higher gusts possible over the higher elevations of central and eastern Utah. Minimum relative humidities are in the single digits across the far southern tip of the Great Basin, with mostly relative humidities in the teens over Nevada, slightly higher over northern Utah and Idaho. More of the same is expected on Tuesday as the ridge moves a little bit further north and east with continued warming and drying area-wide, and we do see that field dryness turning to brown further north in Nevada, and some yellows moving up into central Idaho. Continued light winds are expected for the most part on Tuesday, with minimum relative humidities continuing in the teens to single digits across the south. Overnight Tuesday, we do begin to see a little bit of moisture moving into far western Nevada. We could see some overnight thunderstorms right along the Sierra front, but they will be definitely isolated. On Wednesday, a trough moves into the Pacific Northwest pretty quickly, pushing out the high pressure ridge just to the south and east. As this trough moves in, we'll begin to see some moisture moving into the north and possibly even bringing some moisture into northern Nevada and portions of far northern Utah. So we will be looking for an increase in thunderstorm activity on Wednesday. The thunderstorms over Nevada and southern Idaho may be on the drier side, or a mix of wet and dry, with wetter thunderstorms across the central Idaho mountains. Dryness continues over central and southern Great Basin. So closer look at the winds expected for Wednesday. We see these pockets of darker purples, which is higher gusts, generally associated with thunderstorm outflows. And here on the right is shown the weather forecast. Looking for generally isolated thunderstorms in this lighter green, with a better chance of a wet thunderstorm in this darker green. So on Wednesday afternoon, there's a chance we could see some isolated mix of wet and dry thunderstorms over northeast and north central Nevada and southern Idaho, possibly moving into northern Utah also. The 3-day precipitation totals are shown here, really just looking for a better chance of those wetting rains over the central Idaho mountains by Wednesday, with more of a mix of wet and dry thunderstorms across northern Nevada and northern Utah. On Thursday, that trough continues to swing through the Great Basin, possibly bringing a better chance of thunderstorms to northern Utah on Thursday as some of that moisture moves through. Temperatures will also come down a bit, not a huge drop, but definitely coming down from the pretty warm temperatures from Wednesday. See somewhat of a moderation in our large fire potential on Thursday with some of that cooler, moister air mass moving in, but still very dry across the south. And on Friday, as that trough moves off to the east, we can see some lingering effects still in place over far eastern Great Basin. We may see some lingering thunderstorms there across eastern Utah on Friday, with dryness beginning to return to the west. On Saturday, generally looking for a calm day with sunny skies and dry conditions area-wide as we look to maybe another trough moving in for this weekend. There's a bit of uncertainty in the forecast at the moment, but possibly Saturday into Sunday there's another trough moving through, which could possibly bring another round of some isolated thunderstorms and maybe some cooler temperatures as well. So we'll just be watching to see how this event shapes up for the weekend. 7-day totals shown here, kind of just looking for, again, that mixed potential for mixed wet, dry thunderstorms, mainly over northern and central Nevada. Wetter thunderstorms up north in Idaho and western Wyoming, and not as much precipitation coming to Utah. The extended forecast for June 29th through July 5th is calling for below normal temperatures in place over much of the Great Basin, with above normal chances for precip mainly coming to Idaho, and still that dry signal across the southwest. This concludes today's fire potential briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.